and welcome to another episode of Thought Provoking Books. My name is Katrina, and today we're diving into George Orwell's 1984, a book that, despite being published in 1949, feels eerily relevant in today's digital age. In 1984, Orwell painted a world where truth is controlled, history is rewritten, and citizens are manipulated into believing whatever the government tells them. But the big question here is, are we in some ways living in our own versions of 1984? Well, in today's episode, we'll break down part 1 of 1984 and the role of the Ministry of Truth, examine modern-day fake news and misinformation, and compare Orwell's dystopia to our own present reality. So let's jump in. Okay, so let's start with the Ministry of Truth. So imagine a world where history is fixed and where what you remember from yesterday might no longer be true today. Well, that's the terrifying reality in 1984. The Ministry of Truth is in charge of rewriting history and ensuring that the past always aligns with the party's or Big Brother's current agenda. Winston Smith, our protagonist, works in this very ministry, and you may wonder what his job is. Well, his job is to modify historical records such as old newspapers, books, and official documents so that they reflect the party's latest versions of reality. If the government once promised that chocolate rations would increase but actually decreased them, Winston must rewrite past records to make it seem like the party never made the original promise. And the result, you may ask? Well, citizens have to accept the government's ever-changing truth without question, not only because they have to, but because they have no other choice. In the book, Orwell captures this manipulation in one chilling line. Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. This line really illustrates how power is maintained through information control. While this may sound like fiction, history being rewritten is very real. In authoritarian regimes, leaders manipulate narratives to maintain power. Well, take historical rewriting in authoritarian governments. Leaders have altered textbooks, erased political opponents from records, and controlled media narratives to shape national memory. A current example here is the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Russian state-controlled media presents a distorted version of events, portraying Ukraine as the bad guy. Let's think about that for a moment. Well, if history can be rewritten, how do you even know what's real? Well, in 1984, people are forced into a mindset called doublethink, and this is the ability to hold onto two contradictory beliefs at the same time and accept both as true. An example here from the book is the voice on the telescreen that constantly reminds the citizens that war is peace, slavery is freedom, and ignorance is strength. And that brings us on to today's world. Okay, so fast forward to today. We may not have a Ministry of Truth, but we have something just as powerful, and that's social media. In an age where information spreads instantly, fake news has become a serious issue. So what exactly is fake news? Well, fake news is misleading or completely false information designed to manipulate public perception. And social media really amplifies this effect, where one viral post can influence millions before fact-checkers even have a chance to respond. And we've seen this play out in real-life scenarios too. Political propaganda, deepfakes, conspiracy theories. Well, these aren't just random online hoaxes. They have real-life consequences. Take the widespread misinformation surrounding the 2016 and 2020 US elections. False claims about voter fraud, deepfake videos, and misleading headlines fueled division and distrust, much like how the party in 1984 used manipulation to maintain control. In Chapter 7, Orwell warns us with the line, "The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command." Doesn't that sound eerily familiar to when misinformation spreads today? Well, just like the party in 1984 controlled reality by rewriting history, misinformation today shapes reality by distorting facts. And the most dangerous part? Well, many people don't even question or realize it.
Now let's compare Orwell's dystopia with our modern day reality. In 1984, the party controlled all information, ensuring that the citizens only had access to state-approved narratives. Today, we live in an age of information overload, but that doesn't mean we are immune to manipulation. The sheer volume of misinformation can lead to echo chambers or create them. And this is where people only see news that aligns with their beliefs, reinforcing their worldview while blocking out opposing perspectives. But what about doublethink? Are we seeing a version of that too? Well, think about how certain groups cling to contradictory beliefs and shifting their views to align with political narratives. Orwell's warning was pretty clear. When people accept contradictions without question, they surrender their ability to think independently. For example, consider the shifting narratives around public health during the COVID-19 pandemic. At different points, misinformation led to people believe both that the virus was a hoax and that it was a government-created weapon. And this is a great example of contradictory ideas embraced by different groups at different times.
So, lastly, what can we learn from Orwell to protect ourselves from misinformation? So, here are 4 solutions for today and questions we can ask ourselves. Number 1 is to question everything. It is super important that we don't accept every information like it's true. Always remember to ask who really benefits from this narrative. Number 2 is to verify all the sources. Check multiple trustworthy sources before believing or even sharing the information further on. Number 3 is to recognize emotional manipulation. Remember that if a headline is designed to make you feel outraged or even fearful, it might be propaganda and may be false information. And lastly, encourage critical thinking. Talk to people with different perspectives and engage in an open, fact-based discussion. This can really help us to get other points of views and maybe find out if something is false information or not. Yeah, so that will be all for today. I hope you found this information really insightful. And remember that in a world flooded with misinformation, our greatest weapon is critical thinking. So stay informed, stay questioning, and never stop seeking the truth. Goodbye!